Well, hi, everybody. I'm Don Stewart, and welcome to another edition of Breaking News for this Friday. It's the 9th day of August, 2024, and we have a number of stories that have come across the wire that are important when we look at the subject of last days Bible prophecy and how the events of today fit with what the Bible predicts will take place. Now, our top story, Iran still seems to be discussing whether or not to attack Israel. They really have not made a decision, it seems. The U.S. is said to be okay that Israel should release one of the most infamous murderers in their prison in the hostage deal. And we discover the inspiration that Kamala Harris gets from her pastor. All right, let's look at the headlines. Number one, Pezeshkian, he's the leader of Iran, the newly installed president, suggests striking Israel's secret bases in neighboring countries. This is from the UK Telegraph. Sources in Iran are speculating about possible internal power struggles between Pezeshkian's newly ascendant faction and the IRGC, with both trying to set the tone for the new regime. Iran's new president, Masoud Pezeshkian, and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps disagreed on the response to the assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh, with the former suggesting the Islamic Republic target secret Israeli bases, according to a Friday report in the UK Telegraph. While the IRGC reportedly wants to attack Tel Aviv and other cities directly, the president fears the consequences and suggests attacking Israel's secret bases in neighboring countries instead. Now, this is part of the ongoing dispute between the new president and the IRGC, with Pezeshkian being considered more moderate than his predecessor, Ibrahim Raisi. The decision is in the hands, of course, of the Supreme Commander, Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, who serves as the country's commander-in-chief. Now, Iran has previously attacked what it claims are Mossad spy bases in Iraq's Kurdistan in multiple strikes in January, which killed several citizens, including a local millionaire and his family. Alternative targets for an Iranian strike could be Azerbaijan, with the plan to warn them ahead of time. Mr. Pezeshkian fears that any direct attack upon Israel would have serious consequences, a close aide to the president told the Telegraph. He mentioned that we were lucky that Iran did not get into an all-out war with Israel last time. Maybe not this time, the aide said, referring to the April attack on Israel. And they were very lucky they didn't get into an all-out war with Israel because the U.S. stopped Israel, of course, as we know, from really responding as they should. The IRGC's insistence on targeting Israel is more about undermining his week-long presidency rather than covering the humiliation they have suffered, the aide continued. In other words, it's a power struggle. They don't want Pezeshkian to have the last word. They want to be the authority there that the supreme leader listens to. They added that the president does not feel humiliated as it happened hours after he was sworn in. Now, there have been some rumors that Hezbollah may attack on its own, with some in Iran wanting to let Hezbollah handle the response and simply provide them with more sophisticated weapons. IRCG officials, however, are reportedly still intent on striking Tel Aviv in coordination with the Ring of Fire proxy groups. In other words, Hezbollah, the Houthis down in Yemen, the Islamic Jihad there in Iraq, the groups in Syria, the terrorist groups there, Hamas also, and the ones from the West Bank that are there as part of the terrorist groups that are there. And that'd be from 7 different angles they would be hit at the same time. Anyway, sources in Iran are speculating about the possible internal power struggle between Pezeshkian's newly ascended faction, the IRCG, with both trying to set the tone for their new regime. All right, this is a real interesting discussion, and there is indeed trouble in paradise here. But this highlights what the Bible has to say about who will be leading the nations in the Middle East at the time of the end. There is no doubt who it will be. It will not be Iran. It will be Russia. Iran will be merely a surrogate with Russia and a Russian leader leading the charge. Now, we document this in our book, 25 Signs We're Near the End, in appendix number 5, would a regional war between Israel and Iran fulfill Bible prophecy? And as we have said time after time after time, the answer is no. Even if all 7 different factions from all over at once attacked Israel and this huge war broke out, some type of regional war in the Middle East, this would not be fulfilling Bible prophecy. Again, number 5, the 5 appendix number there on our 25 Signs We're Near the End about this question. You look at it and you see 10 specific reasons why This cannot have anything to do with what's going on right now. It'll be a Russian leader. Iran is mentioned in the attack, but Iran is mentioned as a surrogate, not as the leader. That's why it cannot be. And plus, the United States is involved in this particular struggle on the side of Israel. They will not be on the side of Israel, as we have mentioned time after time when the Ezekiel 38, 39 the invasion takes place. So again, 25 signs. We're near the end. So I'm educating our world. It's found on our website, Educating Our World, under the heading of Bible prophecy. All our resources there are free. We go into great detail explaining why this could not be a fulfillment of Bible prophecy. So we don't know if it'll happen or not, but if it does, this is not something we can point to Scripture and say, see, the Bible is being fulfilled. Not in this case. Now, the Bible will be fulfilled in the future with a Russian attack, but this time it will not happen according to Scripture as been predicted. In other words, nothing like this is predicted. All right, let's go to headline 2. Hamas demands the release of Marwan Barghouti in a hostage deal, according to a report. Mediators, including the U.S., reportedly expressed support for Barghouti's release. Hamas demanded the release of Fatah leader Marwan Barghouti as part of a hostage and prisoner exchange deal, according to Friday's Sky News Arabia report. According to the report, there was an indication that the mediators and the U.S. expressed support for Barghouti's release. The U.S. has openly supported the idea of renewed authority over the West Bank and Gaza Strip. So the question is, does Barghouti have a future in Gaza? The call for the Fatah leader's release was allegedly connected to Hamas's concern that it would not be able to maintain power over the Gaza Strip, and Barghouti would be a way to maintain a position of influence. The 64-year-old reportedly has wide support in both the West Bank and Gaza. In May, Ma'ariv reported, citing a Saudi channel, that Israel no longer opposed Barghouti's release, but had insisted he be released into Gaza instead of the West Bank. Now, who is Barghouti? Well, he's the former leader of Tanzim, a militant faction of the Palestinian Fatah movement. He was sentenced in the year 2004 by an Israeli court to 5 cumulative life sentences and 40 years in prison for terrorist acts in which 5 Israelis were murdered and many injured. In other words, he's a very infamous murderer. He's a leading figure there. He's been a leading figure in the terrorism against Israel. He's been in jail for some 20-odd years, and he should stay there forever. So here's the thing. If this story is correct, then the U.S. is out of its mind. There's no way on earth they can release this murder. If they did, he would simply murder again. Now, this is further confirmation here that the U.S. even suggests this of sign 11 of our 25 signs we're near the end. Namely, no superpower will intervene on Israel's behalf when they are invaded. Ezekiel 38 and 39. Something's going to happen in the United States. Our influence will be dwindling and will be non-existent at the time of the end. That's why this Russian leader has no second thought about invading Israel, because he knows no nation will come to its aid. That means the United States is simply not a player at this time. And so that's something that isn't happening right now, but we can see the U.S. dwindling, of course, in influence around the world. Now, our last story comes from All Israel News. It's rather interesting. It was an op-ed that they published there. Who is Kamala Harris's radical pastor? Amos Brown, longtime pastor of San Francisco's Third Baptist Church and current president of San Francisco's NAACP, has a history of radical anti-American statements and viewpoints, as well as political alliances that are anti-Semitic. Yet, he is what Kamala Harris calls an inspiration to me always. Brown's anti-American statements first took the spotlight just days after the 9/11 terror attack that took the lives of almost 3,000 Americans. Brown was speaking at the memorial service for some of the victims of the al-Qaeda attack when he accused America of causing the terror attacks, stunning the families and friends of the victims there. America, is there anything you did to set up this climate? Brown asked the audience. Oh, America, what did you do? America, what did you do 2 weeks ago when I stood at the World Conference on Racism when you wouldn't show up? Brown said, referring to his participation as a delegate in the United Nations World Conference Against Racism, the Durban Conference in Durban, South Africa. America, America, what did you do, either intentionally or unintentionally, in the world order in Central America and Africa where bombs are still blasting? Brown went on. Now, his inflammatory remarks at the memorial service drew criticism from even the staunchest liberal Democrats, including former Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, the late California Senator Dianne Feinstein, and former California Governor Gray Davis, all who left the service during and after his comments. The Durban conference, where Brown served as a delegate in 2001, was boycotted by the United States and Israel due to its vilification of the state of Israel, their reference to Israel as an apartheid state, their Nazi analogies, and distorting the Holocaust. The Durban conference became the birthplace of the boycott, divestment, and sanction movement, the famous BDS, whose stated goal is to delegitimize the state of Israel. Now, Brown says he has known Harris for over 2 decades and attended her inauguration in 2021. Harris has lauded Brown for his support, saying he has been on this journey with me every step of the way. When I first thought about running for public office almost 2 decades ago, she said in 2022 during the NCAACP and AACP National Convention. In 2022, Brown, who serves on the California Reparations Task Force, held a Solidarity for Reparations event at his church, where he told the San Francisco Chronicle that America is a racist country. Instead of distancing herself from Brown, Kamala Harris has continued to seek his advice, inviting him to the White House at least twice while she's been vice president and continuing to be a dues-paying member of the church, according to Brown. When asked by the Sojourner whether he thinks Harris could grow more, Brown initially said she should just stay the course and hold the hope, but later added that Harris could grow in her foreign policy expertise. And as the article says, he is certainly right about that. With her recent demands for Netanyahu to get a ceasefire in place, sympathizing with pro-Hamas groups, ignoring Netanyahu's speech to Congress, and her lack of strong condemnation for the Hezbollah attack that took 12 Israeli children's lives recently, it's clear she is not a strong advocate for Israel, the article concludes. A Kamala Harris presidency would not only be a continuation of the policies that have eroded America, but it would also radically change the alliance between the U.S. and Israel. And that's a exclamation point they put on the article. Well, this fits sign number 19 of our 25 signs. The organized church will turn away from the faith apostasy. In other words, instead of the preaching of the gospel, instead of telling people life about Christ, this pastor, like so many out there, this woke pastor, has all these leftist causes. He is proclaiming anti-Israel, anti-American, and there's nothing in the gospel, nothing about Jesus, nothing about Christianity there. It's just all a message of hate. And this is not the message of Jesus. The message of Jesus' salvation, that we can know who we are, why we're here, what's going to happen to us when we die, our identity, our purpose, and our destiny. This is what the message here is all about, what we're all about here on Breaking News, to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ to the world. Everything we do is a means to an end to get to that, because people need to know Jesus. And when you get off these tracks on, these rabbit trails of politics and this and that, it misses the point the church is here for, and that is to be salt and light to the world, to preach the good news about Jesus. And it's sad she's going to a church and has a pastor that doesn't have the remotest clue, it seems to be, what his calling is. All right, so this is the latest then. What's going to happen with Iran? We don't know yet. Will there be a hostage deal? And if so, will this murderer Barghouti be released? Highly unlikely. And Kamala Harris, she keeps listening to this character. No wonder, her views on Israel and other things are so contrary to what the American people believe and also what the Bible teaches. All right, I'm Don Stewart. As always, thank you so much for watching Breaking News. Again, take advantage of our resources on our website, Educating Our World. They're all free. And we'll see you again in the morning unless something breaks before that time. So until then, as always, may the Lord richly, richly bless.